The alarm bells rang through the command center of Outpost Kepler 7. Commander Hyun-woo stood in front of the giant screens, watching red warning lights flash across the room. His coffee cup sat forgotten on the desk as he stared at the data coming in from their most important monitoring station. "Sir, we lost all contact with Station Alpha Prime 15 minutes ago," reported Lieutenant Dayun from her control station. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, trying different communication channels. All systems just went dark at the same time. Hyun-woo felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Station Alpha Prime was not just any space station. It was the biggest and most advanced monitoring post in human space. 12,000 people worked there, watching for enemy ships and protecting 3 star systems. The station had the best sensors, the strongest shields, and enough weapons to fight off a small fleet. "What do the backup systems say?" Hyun-woo asked, walking over to Daeun's station. "That's the strange part, sir. The backup sensors show the station is still there. All the lights are on, the power is working, and the structure looks perfect. But there are no life signs at all. Not a single person is showing up on our scans." Hyun-woo grabbed the communication device on his belt. "Get me Admiral So-young right away," he said. While he waited, he looked at the data again. This made no sense. How could 12,000 people just disappear from a heavily protected space station? "Sir, the Admiral is on the line," Daeun said. "Admiral, we have a big problem," Hyun-woo said into the device. "Station Alpha Prime has gone completely silent. All personnel appear to be missing, but the station itself is undamaged." There was silence for a moment. Then Admiral So-young's voice came through, sharp and serious. "Commander, take the Apex Predator and a full investigation team to Alpha Prime immediately. Find out what happened to our people." "Yes, sir. We'll leave within the hour." 2 hours later, Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the battlecruiser Apex Predator as it moved through space toward the missing station. The ship was one of humanity's most powerful warships with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But as they got closer to Alpha Prime, Hyun-woo felt more worried than confident. "Sir, we're getting close to the station," reported Captain Min-soo from the pilot's seat. "Visual contact in 30 seconds. Through the big windows at the front of the bridge, Station Alpha Prime came into view. It looked exactly like it should. A massive metal structure floating in space with thousands of lights blinking normally. Ships were still docked at the station's ports, and everything looked peaceful. "Scan for life signs," Hyun-woo ordered. Chief Science Officer Da-yoon worked at her station for several minutes before looking up with a confused expression. "Sir, this is impossible. The station shows perfect power levels. All systems are working normally, but there are absolutely 0 life signs. It's like everyone just vanished into thin air. Any signs of a fight? Damage to the station? None at all, sir. The station is in perfect condition. Even the docking bay doors are still open like nothing happened." Hyun-woo made a decision. "We're going aboard. Get me a team of 20 security officers and all the science equipment we have. If there are answers, we'll find them inside that station." The docking process went smoothly. Too smoothly. Usually the station's control tower would guide them in, telling them which dock to use and asking for identification codes. Instead, their ship's computer had to do everything automatically. As Hyun-woo and his team walked through the airlock into Station Alpha Prime, they were met by normal air, normal gravity, and normal lighting. Everything worked perfectly. But the silence was complete and frightening. "Security team spread out and check the main areas," Hyun-woo ordered. "Science team start scanning everything. I want to know what happened here." They walked through the main corridor of the station. Coffee cups sat on tables, still warm. Computer screens showed half-finished reports. In the cafeteria, plates of food sat on tables as if people had just stepped away for a moment. But there were no people anywhere. Dr. Yoon-ji, the team's lead scientist, used her scanner on everything they passed. "Sir, this is very strange. The air shows traces of human activity from just a few hours ago. But there are no signs that anyone left the station. No transporter signatures, no shuttle launches, nothing." They reached the main control center of the station. It was a huge room filled with computer screens and control panels. Every station was still active, showing normal readings from all over the sector, but no one was there to watch them. "Look at this," said Sergeant Tae-ho from across the room. He was standing next to a control station where a cup of tea sat next to a keyboard. The tea is still warm, and look at the computer screen. Hyunwoo walked over and saw a half-written message on the screen. Sensor readings normal, all ships accounted for, nothing unusual to rip. The message ended in the middle of the word report. It's like whoever was writing this just stopped in the middle of typing and disappeared, Taeho said. Sir, called out Lieutenant Nara from the security station. You need to see this right away. Hyunwoo hurried over to where Nara was looking at the security monitors. The screen showed camera feeds from all over the station, empty corridors, empty rooms, empty workstations. Show me the recordings from when everyone disappeared, Hyunwoo said. Nara worked at the controls and brought up recordings from 3 hours earlier. The cameras showed normal activity. People walking through corridors, working at their stations, eating in the cafeteria. Everything looked completely normal. Watch this, Nara said, pointing at the timestamp. This is exactly when we lost contact. On the screens, people continued their normal activities. A woman was typing at her computer. A man was drinking coffee while reading a report. 2 engineers were talking while looking at a technical drawing. Then, at exactly 14:32:17, every person on every screen just vanished. Not slowly, not with any warning. They were there 1 second and gone the next. The coffee cup the man was holding fell to the floor. The woman's hands disappeared from above her keyboard. The engineers' voices stopped in the middle of their conversation. Run it again, Hyunwoo said, his voice quiet. They watched the recording 3 more times. Each time the result was the same. At 14:32:17, 12,000 people simply stopped existing. Sir? Dr. Yoonji said, her voice shaking slightly. I've been scanning the computer systems. Someone or something downloaded every piece of classified information on this station. All our military secrets, all our technology data, everything. But there's no record of any outside access. It's like the information just copied itself. How is that possible? Hyunwoo asked. It's not, sir. At least not with any technology we know about. Hyunwoo felt a chill run down his back. He looked around the control center again, noting all the abandoned workstations and half-finished tasks. Team, we're leaving. Now. Sir? Shouldn't we investigate more? Asked Dr. Yoonji. No. Something very dangerous happened here, and I don't want it happening to us. Everyone back to the ship immediately. As they walked quickly through the corridors toward their ship, several team members reported strange feelings. Sergeant Taeho said he kept seeing movement in the corners of his eyes, but when he turned to look, nothing was there. Lieutenant Nara reported hearing whispers in empty rooms, but the sound recordings showed nothing. Dr. Yoonji's scanners kept detecting brief energy signatures that disappeared the moment she tried to focus on them. Back on the Apex Predator, Hyunwoo immediately contacted Admiral So-young. Admiral, the situation is worse than we thought, he reported. All 12,000 personnel vanished at exactly the same moment, with no warning and no trace. All classified. Data was stolen, but we found no evidence of any outside force. The station is completely intact and functional. Commander, that's impossible. Yes, sir, I know it's impossible. But that's what happened. Sir, I recommend we evacuate all personnel from the nearby stations and put the entire sector on high alert. Whatever did this might strike again. Agreed. Return to base immediately and prepare a full report. We need to figure out what we're dealing with. As the Apex Predator moved away from Station Alpha Prime, Hyunwoo stood at the bridge windows looking back at the station. It looked so normal, so peaceful. But he knew that 12,000 people had simply stopped existing there, and humanity had no idea how or why. Sir, Da-yoon said quietly, what do you think happened to them? Hyunwoo was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, he finally said. But I have a feeling this is just the beginning. Behind them, Station Alpha Prime continued its silent orbit, all its lights still blinking normally, its computers still running their programs, its systems still functioning perfectly. But in all those rooms and corridors, there was only silence and the lingering mystery of where 12,000 human beings had gone in the space of a single second. As the Apex Predator jumped to faster-than-light speed, none of them noticed. The small distortion in space near the station, a ripple in reality itself that lasted only a moment before disappearing, leaving no trace that anything unusual had ever been there at all. Admiral So Young had not slept in 36 hours. She stood in the emergency command center, looking at 3 huge screens that showed the same terrible information over and over again. 3 more human installations had gone completely silent in the past 2 days, and every single one followed the exact same pattern as Station Alpha Prime. "Tell me again what happened at the Titan Research Facility," she said to Colonel Sung Min, who was reading from a data pad. "Same as the others, Admiral. At exactly 09:15 yesterday morning, all contact was lost. When our ships arrived, they found the facility completely intact and fully operational, but all 4,000 researchers and security personnel had vanished without a trace. No signs of struggle, no evidence of any attack, and all classified research data had been copied." So Young rubbed her tired eyes. "And New Kyoto Military Academy? Identical situation. 8,000 cadets and instructors disappeared at 16:42 yesterday afternoon. The academy is still running perfectly, but there's no one there. All training data and military strategies were downloaded by an unknown source. And Deep Space Listening Post 7? Gone silent this morning at 06:30. Only 500 personnel, but they were monitoring communications across 12-star systems. Again, everyone vanished instantly and all intelligence data was stolen." So Young looked at the map on the central screen. 4 red dots marked the locations of the attacked installations. They were scattered across human space, hundreds of light years apart. Whatever was doing this could strike anywhere, anytime, and humanity had no way to stop it. "Have we found any connection between the targets?" she asked. Strategic Analyst Tejo stepped forward with his report. "Admiral, I've been studying this for the past day. All 4 locations had one thing in common. They were researching or storing information about humanity's most advanced technologies. Station Alpha Prime had quantum sensor research. Titan was working on consciousness transfer technology. New Kyoto had all our latest military innovations. And Deep Space Post 7 was collecting data about dimensional physics from alien sources. So, whatever is doing this is specifically targeting our most important scientific work. It appears that way, Admiral. But here's what's really strange. They're not destroying the information. They're copying it and taking our people. It's like someone is collecting everything that makes humanity advanced." Dr. Jiwoo, the military's top expert on alien technology, spoke up from her workstation. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the sensor data from all 4 incidents. There's something very unusual in the readings right before each attack." "What kind of unusual?" "Tiny distortions in spacetime, barely detectable. Our sensors almost missed them completely, but if you look very carefully, there's a pattern of gravitational waves that don't match anything in our databases. It's like space itself is being bent or twisted in ways that shouldn't be possible." So Young walked over to Dr. Jiwoo's station and looked at the complex wave patterns on her screen. Could this be some kind of new alien technology? Maybe, but it's unlike anything we've ever encountered. Most alien technology we know about still follows the basic laws of physics. This looks like something that operates outside those laws. "Captain." Min-Soo entered the command center, still wearing his flight suit. He had just returned from a special reconnaissance mission with his stealth ship, Ghostwalker. "Admiral, I have a report from the trap operation," he said. "Go ahead, Captain." Min-Soo looked tired and frustrated. "We set up a fake research station as bait, just like you ordered. My ship was hidden nearby with full stealth systems active. When the target approached the station, our sensors detected something incredible." "What did you see?" "That's just it, Admiral. We didn't see anything. But our instruments recorded a massive distortion in spacetime, much larger than what Dr. Jiwoo found in the previous attacks. It was like a huge invisible object was moving through space, bending reality around itself." "How big?" So Young asked. "Based on the gravitational effects, at least 2 kilometers long and maybe half a kilometer wide. Bigger than any ship in our fleet. But completely invisible to all our sensors except for the space-time distortion it created." Dr. Jiwoo leaned forward in her chair. "Did you get any other readings?" "That's the strangest part," Min-Soo continued. Just before the fake station went dark, our quantum sensors picked up what looked like scanning beams. But the beams weren't coming from any direction we could identify. It was like they were coming from somewhere else entirely. Maybe another dimension. Another dimension? So Young repeated. I know it sounds impossible, Admiral, but that's what the data shows. Whatever this thing is, it might not even exist completely in our normal space. That would explain why we can't see it or detect it with normal sensors. The room fell silent as everyone tried to understand what this meant. An enemy that could attack from another dimension, steal their most important secrets, and make their people disappear without leaving any trace. Sir, Tejo said quietly, if this enemy can attack from another dimension, how do we fight it? Our weapons are designed to work in normal space. Before So Young could answer, alarms started ringing. Throughout the command center, Lieutenant Dai-Un's voice came over the speakers from the monitoring station. Admiral, we're getting an emergency signal from Colony World Harmony. They report that their main research complex has just gone silent. All communication has been lost. So Young felt her heart sink. Colony World Harmony had over 50,000 people, including many of humanity's best scientists. It was also where they were developing some of their most secret projects. How long ago? She asked. The signal was sent 23 minutes ago, Admiral. Based on communication delay, the attack happened about 40 minutes ago. Captain Min-Su, take your ship and investigate immediately. But do not get close enough to be detected. We need information, not more missing personnel. Yes, Admiral. As Min-Su hurried out of the command center, So Young turned to address everyone in the room. People, we're dealing with something completely beyond our experience, an enemy that can appear anywhere, anytime without warning. They can steal our people and our secrets while remaining completely invisible to us. What are your orders, Admiral? Asked Colonel Sungmin. First, evacuate all non-essential personnel from our remaining research facilities. Second, move our most important projects to different locations and don't tell anyone where. Third, I want every scientist and engineer we have working on new, sensor technology that might be able to detect dimensional distortions. And if we can find a way to detect them? Dr. Jiwoo asked. Then we find a way to fight them. 2 hours later, Captain Min-Su's voice came through the communication system from Colony World Harmony. His report was exactly what they had feared to hear. Admiral, the colony's main research complex is completely empty. All 15,000 researchers and support staff have vanished. The complex is undamaged and fully functional. But there are no life signs anywhere. Security recordings show everyone disappearing at exactly the same moment, just like the other attacks. What about the research data? So Young asked. All of it has been copied. Everything about dimensional physics, quantum computing, consciousness transfer, temporal mechanics. All the most advanced projects humanity was working on. Whoever is doing this now has access to our most secret technologies. So Young closed her eyes for a moment, trying to think clearly despite her exhaustion. The enemy was getting bolder, attacking larger targets with more people, and they were specifically targeting humanity's most advanced research. Captain, return to base immediately, and stay alert. If this enemy can detect our stealth technology, your ship might be in danger too. Understood, Admiral. After the communication ended, So Young looked around the command center at her tired staff. They had been working without rest, trying to solve an impossible problem. An enemy they couldn't see, couldn't detect, and couldn't fight. Admiral, Tejo said, I've been thinking about the pattern of attacks. They're not random. Each target had research that builds on the previous targets. It's like someone is collecting the pieces of a puzzle. What kind of puzzle? I'm not sure. But if they keep following this pattern, I can predict their next target. The Deep Space Research Station at the edge of the galaxy. They're working on combining all these technologies: quantum physics, consciousness transfer, dimensional manipulation, and temporal mechanics. So Young felt a chill. Deep Space Research Station was humanity's most secret and most important facility. Only a few hundred people knew it existed, and it contained research that was decades ahead of anything else humanity had developed. How many people are at that station, she asked. About 2,000 of our best scientists, Teho replied. And if the enemy gets that research? Teho was quiet for a moment. They would have access to technologies that could give them complete control over space and time. They wouldn't just be invisible to us anymore, they could control reality itself. So Young realized they were running out of time. The enemy was collecting human technology and human people for some unknown purpose. Each attack made them stronger and brought them closer to their goal. Get me a direct line to Earth Command, she ordered. It's time to mobilize every ship and every soldier we have. We may not be able to see this in... Dr. Yunji had not left her laboratory in 3 days. Empty coffee cups covered her desk and data screens surrounded her workspace like glowing walls. She was humanity's best quantum physicist, and Admiral So Young had given her the most important job of her life. Figure out how to detect an enemy that seemed to exist outside normal space and time. Computer, show me the gravitational wave analysis from all 5 attack sites again, she said, rubbing her tired eyes. The screens around her displayed complex wave patterns that looked like the heartbeat of space itself. For days, she had been studying these patterns, looking for something that would help humanity find their invisible enemy. There, she whispered, pointing at a small detail on one of the screens. Computer, enhance this section and compare it to theoretical models for interdimensional physics. What she saw made her heart race. The wave pattern matched mathematical models that most scientists thought were just theory, models that described how space-time would behave if something was moving between different dimensions. Computer, calculate the probability that these patterns are natural phenomena. Probability is less than 0.001%, Dr. Yunji. She leaned back in her chair, suddenly understanding what humanity was facing. Their enemy wasn't using advanced cloaking technology or hiding behind energy shields. They were operating from a parallel dimension, existing partially outside normal space-time. That's why human sensors couldn't detect them properly. They were looking for something that wasn't completely there. Computer, contact Admiral So Young immediately. Minutes later, Admiral So Young appeared on Yunji's communication screen, looking as tired as the physicist felt. Admiral, I know what we're dealing with, Yunji said without any introduction. Our enemy is using interdimensional technology. They exist partially in our dimension and partially in others. That's why we can't see them. They're not completely here. Are you certain about this? The mathematical evidence is clear. The gravitational patterns, the space-time distortions, the way they can appear and disappear without being detected. It all fits with interdimensional physics theory. So Young was quiet for a moment. If they can operate from other dimensions, how do we fight them? That's the problem, Admiral. Interdimensional technology is far beyond anything humanity has developed. If I'm right, our enemy has capabilities that we can barely understand, let alone match. But you found a way to detect them. Maybe. I've been working on modifying our quantum sensors to detect interdimensional signatures. It's all theoretical, but if it works, we might be able to see them coming. How long do you need? Give me 6 hours and I'll have a prototype ready for testing. While Dr. Yunji worked on her interdimensional sensors, Colonel Sungmin was preparing for what might be humanity's last chance to gather intelligence about their enemy. His Special Forces team was the best humanity had. Soldiers trained for the most dangerous missions in space. Listen carefully, Sungmin told his 12 team members as they prepared their equipment. Dr. Yunji believes she can detect the enemy during their next attack. Our job is to get as close as possible and record everything we can. We might not get another chance to learn about these things. Sergeant Wu Jin checked his recording equipment one more time. Sir, what if they detect us like they detected Captain Minsu's stealth ship? Then we run. But until then, we gather data. Humanity's survival might depend on what we learn today. Their target was Deep Space Research Station Omega, just as analyst Tae-ho had predicted. It was humanity's most secret facility, containing research into the most advanced physics theories. If the enemy followed their pattern, they would attack, within hours. Sungmin's team positioned their small scout ship 2 million kilometers away from the research station. far enough to avoid detection but close enough for Dr. Yoon-ji's experimental sensors to work. Then they waited. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Jin-A from the sensor station, "Dr. Yoon-ji's quantum sensors are showing unusual readings. Something is happening to space-time near the research station." Sung-min moved to look at the sensor display. Strange patterns were appearing on the screen, ripples in reality itself that seemed to be growing stronger. "Everyone record everything," he ordered. "This might be our only chance to see what we're dealing with." The space around Research Station Omega began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot ground. But instead of heat, this was space-time, itself bending and twisting in impossible ways. Then slowly something began to become visible. "Dear God," whispered Sergeant Wu Jin. A massive ship was materializing out of nothing, but it wasn't appearing like a normal ship uncloaking. Instead, it seemed to be sliding into their dimension from somewhere else entirely. The ship's outline kept shifting and blurring, as if their eyes couldn't quite focus on something that didn't completely exist in their reality. The ship was huge, easily 3 times the size of humanity's largest battleships. Its design was unlike anything in human records. The hull seemed to flow like liquid metal, constantly changing shape while maintaining its basic structure. Strange patterns of light moved across its surface like living circuits. "Are you getting all this?" Sung-min asked his team. "Every sensor is recording, sir," Jin-A replied. "But the data is very strange. Our computers keep trying to interpret what they're seeing, but the ship's design doesn't follow any known physics." As they watched, the mysterious ship moved closer to Research Station Omega. The space station's alarms were now ringing, but there was nothing the station's defenders could do against an enemy they still couldn't detect with their normal sensors. "Sir," Jin-A said urgently, "the research station is trying to contact us. They're asking if we can see what's attacking them. Tell them negative. Maintain communication silence." They watched as the alien ship positioned itself next to the research station. No weapons fired, no boarding craft were launched. Instead, the ship simply reached out. Extensions of its hull flowed toward the station like liquid metal tentacles. When they touched the station's hull, both structures began to glow with the same strange light. "The ship is scanning the station," observed Dr. Young-soo, the team's science officer. "But it's not just scanning the computers or the equipment. Those energy patterns suggest they're scanning the people inside. On their screens, they could see the life signs of 2,000 researchers and workers inside the station." Then, exactly as had happened at all the other attacks, every life sign vanished at the same moment. But this time, with Dr. Yoon-ji's sensors, they could see what really happened. "They're not killing the people," Young-soo said in amazement. "They're collecting them. Those energy patterns show the people being converted into some kind of data and transferred to the alien ship." "You mean the people are still alive?" Sung-min asked. "I think so, sir, but they exist as information now, not as physical beings." The alien ship finished its work and began to fade back into interdimensional space. But just as it was about to disappear completely, something unexpected happened. The ship stopped fading and became fully solid again. "Sir," Jin-A said, her voice frightened, "they've detected us. The ship is turning toward our position." Through the viewports of their small scout ship, they could see the massive alien vessel rotating to face them. Even at a distance of 2 million kilometers, it looked enormous and terrifying. Then their communication system activated by itself. A voice spoke in perfect Korean, clear and calm, but with something wrong about it, like it was too perfect, without any of the small imperfections that made human speech natural. "Unknown human vessel. You possess detection capabilities that were not predicted. This is interesting." Colonel Sung-min grabbed the communication device. "This is Colonel Sung-min of the Human Defense Forces. Identify yourself." The voice switched to flawless English, then to Japanese, then to dozens of other human languages, cycling through them like it was showing off. Finally, it settled back on Korean. "Your species has developed beyond expected parameters. You may call us the architects. We are the designers of your reality structure and the creators of your species' evolutionary path." "What do you want from us?" Sungmin demanded. We are conducting final evaluations of our experimental subjects. Your species has reached the designated testing phase. Initial results show potential. Testing phase? What are you talking about? Do not interfere with our research, Colonel Sungmin. Your individual designation and service record are now known to us, as are the designations of all members of your species. We have been observing your development for much longer than your civilization has existed. Dr. Youngsu quickly checked their ship's computer systems. Sir, they're accessing our databases, all of them. Ship records, personnel files, everything. The alien voice continued, now speaking in a tone that somehow conveyed both curiosity and threat. You have developed interdimensional detection capabilities 67 years ahead of our projected timeline. This deviation requires analysis. What happened to our people? Sungmin asked. The ones you took from our stations? Subjects are being preserved for study. Your species' consciousness patterns are more complex than initially predicted. Some subjects demonstrate decision-making capabilities that exceed logical parameters. They're people, not subjects. Return them immediately, Colonel. Sun. The emergency meeting room at Human Defense Headquarters had never been so crowded or so quiet. Representatives from every human colony, every military branch, and every major scientific institution sat around the massive circular table. At the center, Admiral So Young stood next to a holographic display showing the locations of all the attacks. Ladies and gentlemen, So Young began, her voice carrying the weight of terrible knowledge. We now know what we're fighting. The beings that call themselves the architects claim to be our creators. According to the data recovered from Colonel Sungmin's mission, they have been guiding human evolution for millions of years. General Wu Jin, the head of Earth's military forces, leaned forward. Admiral, are we supposed to believe that these aliens created humanity? The evidence suggests that's exactly what happened, General. They seeded Earth with life, guided our evolution, and influenced our technological development. We are, according to them, an experiment. Dr. Youngsu, who had survived the destruction of several research stations, spoke up from his seat near the back of the room. Admiral, if they created us, why are they attacking us now? Because this is a test, So Young replied, activating the holographic display. Every species they create eventually reaches this point, a final evaluation to determine if the species deserves to continue existing, or if it should be erased from reality. The room erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted questions and demands. The idea that humanity's existence depended on passing some alien test was too much for many to accept quietly. Quiet, General Wu Jin commanded, his voice cutting through the noise. Let the Admiral finish. So Young waited for silence before continuing. According to our analysis of the architect communications, we are not the first species to face this test. They have created and tested thousands of civilizations across multiple dimensions and timelines. Most have failed. What happens to the ones that fail? Asked Dr. Yunji. They are completely erased, not just killed, removed from existence as if they never were. The architects have the power to delete entire species from reality itself. The room fell silent again as people tried to understand the enormity of what they faced. They were not just fighting for their lives or their freedom. They were fighting to continue existing at all. What kind of test are they giving us? Asked Captain Minsu. We don't know the specific requirements, So Young admitted. But based on their previous statements, they want us to demonstrate something that proves we deserve to exist. Something that shows we have value beyond what they originally designed us for. And if we fail this test, General Wu Jin asked, then every human being in the universe, past and present, will simply stop existing. Our entire history will be erased as if it never happened. The weight of this statement settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Every person there understood that they were discussing not just the death of humanity, but the complete elimination of everything humans had ever accomplished or even existed. Admiral, said Representative Park from the colony worlds, what can we do against beings who can erase us from reality? Before So Young could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the building. Lieutenant Dayun's voice came over the communication system. urgent and frightened. Admiral, report to the command center immediately. The architects have sent a message to every human facility in the galaxy simultaneously. The group hurried to the command center, where the main screen showed a message that had appeared on every human computer, communication device, and display screen in known space. The text was simple and terrifying. Humans, the final evaluation begins now. You have 72 hours to demonstrate your worthiness. Failure will result in complete erasure. The test starts with the removal of your most advanced capabilities. Adapt or cease to exist. As they read the message, reports began flooding in from across human space. The architects were systematically attacking and destroying humanity's most advanced technology. Faster-than-light communication networks went down. Quantum computers stopped functioning. Advanced weapon systems shut down completely. But this was different from their previous attacks. Instead of stealing the technology and taking the people, the architects were simply making everything stop working. In some cases, they were completely erasing installations from reality, not destroying them but making them vanish as if they had never existed. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Dayun, "we've lost contact with the Mars orbital shipyards. The entire complex has simply disappeared. Our records show it was there yesterday, but all physical evidence of its existence is gone." Same thing with the Jupiter research stations, added Sergeant Tejo. 4 major installations have been deleted from reality. Even the historical records of building them have been erased from our computers. General Wu Jin stared at the reports. They're not just destroying our present capabilities, they're erasing our past achievements. Dr. Yunji was working frantically at her station trying to analyze what was happening. "Admiral, this is beyond anything we thought possible. They're not just manipulating matter and energy, they're editing the fabric of reality itself. They can change history by making things never have existed in the first place. How do we fight an enemy that can rewrite reality?" So Young asked. "I don't think we can," Yunji replied quietly. "At least not with conventional tactics." Over the next 24 hours, humanity watched helplessly as the architects systematically removed their most advanced capabilities. Entire fleets of starships vanished from reality. Research facilities that had existed for decades were erased from history. Scientists found that their life's work had never happened, with all records and evidence simply gone. But something unexpected began to happen. Instead of panicking or surrendering, humans started adapting. When their advanced computers were erased, they built simpler ones. When their quantum sensors stopped working, they modified older technology to do the job. When their newest weapons disappeared, they pulled older weapons out of storage and found ways to make them more effective. Lieutenant Nara had volunteered to pilot humanity's last prototype warship, the Defiant. It was an experimental vessel that combined human engineering with some captured alien technology. When most of humanity's advanced fleet was erased by the architects, the Defiant became their most powerful remaining ship. "Captain Nara," Admiral So Young said over the communication link, "your mission is to protect our remaining research facilities, while Dr. Yunji works on a way to fight back." "Understood, Admiral. But with all due respect, one ship can't protect installations across multiple star systems." "I know. But you're not just protecting research stations. You're buying us time to figure out how to pass this test." Nara understood. Her job was not to win, but to keep humanity alive long enough to find a solution. It was a mission that would almost certainly end in her death, but she accepted it without hesitation. As Nara piloted the Defiant toward the next target of the architect's attacks, Dr. Yunji made a breakthrough in her laboratory. She had been studying the quantum signatures left behind when the architects erased installations from reality. What she found gave her the first hope humanity had felt in days. "Admiral," she called out excitedly, "I think I understand how their reality editing technology works. And more importantly, I think I've found a weakness." So Young hurried to Yunji's station. "What did you find?" "The architect's technology is incredibly advanced, but it's based on pure logic and mathematical precision. Every action they take follows perfect computational models. They can predict and counter almost any logical response. How is that a weakness? Because humans don't always act logically. We make decisions based on emotions, instincts, and values that don't follow mathematical models. The architects can't predict or counter truly irrational human behavior. So Young began to understand. You're saying we need to act irrationally? More than that, we need to do something that makes no logical sense at all. Something that their perfect mathematical models can't account for. What do you have in mind? Dr. Yunji pulled up a diagram of the Defiant's quantum drive system. I can modify Nara's ship to overload its quantum drive in a very specific way. Instead of just exploding, it will create a dimensional rift that should damage the architect's ship when they attack. Will Nara survive? Yunji was quiet for a moment. No, Admiral. The process will destroy her ship and kill her instantly, but it might give us the advantage we need. And you think Nara will agree to this? That's the point, Admiral. Any logical being would refuse a mission that means certain death with no guarantee of success. But humans might choose to sacrifice themselves for others, even when the odds are against them. The architects can't predict that kind of decision because it doesn't make mathematical sense, so Young understood the plan. But it felt wrong to ask someone to die for such a slim chance of success. She opened a communication channel to the Defiant. Captain Nara, Dr. Yunji has developed a plan that might damage the architect's ship when they attack, but it requires you to overload your quantum drive, which will destroy your ship. Nara's response came immediately, without hesitation. I understand, Admiral. Send me the technical specifications. Captain, you should know that this is essentially a suicide mission. The chance. The architect's ship hung in space like a wounded giant, its normally flowing metal hull flickering between solid and transparent as it struggled to repair the damage from Captain Nara's sacrifice. For the first time since the attacks began, the alien vessel was vulnerable to human weapons. Admiral So Young stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable, watching as 30 human warships surrounded the architect vessel. It was the largest fleet humanity could gather on short notice, but she knew it might not be enough. Even damaged, the alien ship was enormous and built with technology far beyond human understanding. All ships, this is Admiral So Young. She broadcast to the fleet. Remember, our goal is not just to destroy this ship. We need to rescue the thousands of humans they've taken and find a way to stop them from erasing us from existence. Admiral, reported Captain Dong Hyun from the cruiser. Resilience. Our sensors are detecting massive energy buildups inside the alien ship. They're trying to repair their dimensional systems. How long before they can escape back to interdimensional space? So, Young asked. Dr. Yunji, who was monitoring the battle from the command center, answered over the communication link. Based on the energy patterns, maybe 30 minutes. After that, they'll be able to disappear again and continue erasing our installations. Then we have 30 minutes to end this, So Young replied. All ships, open fire. The human fleet unleashed everything they had at the architect's ship. Plasma beams, quantum torpedoes, and kinetic projectiles struck the alien hull from every direction. But the ship's defenses were incredible. Most of the weapons passed harmlessly through sections of the hull that became transparent, while other sections absorbed the energy and seemed to grow stronger. Minimal damage to the target, reported Dong Hyun. Their hull technology is adapting to our weapons in real time. Commander Jae Hyun, piloting the fast attack ship Courage, flew closer to the alien vessel than any other human ship had dared. His sensors detected something that changed everything. Admiral, I'm detecting human life signs inside the alien ship, he reported. Thousands of them. But they're not in normal space. They exist as some kind of energy pattern. Are they alive? So Young asked. I think so, sir, but they've been converted into pure information. The architects aren't just studying our people. They're preserving every human consciousness they've captured. Dr. Yoonji's voice came over the communication system, excited and urgent. Admiral, if Commander Jae-hyun is right, that ship contains the preserved minds of every person the architects have taken. That's over 50,000 human consciousnesses. Can we get them back? Maybe, but we'd have to get inside their ship and access their storage systems. And we'd have to do it before they finish repairing their dimensional drive. So Young realized what needed to be done. It was dangerous and probably impossible, but it was humanity's only chance. Commander Jae-hyun, can your ship penetrate their hull? Their defensive systems are adapting to our weapons, but they might not be designed to stop a ship from crashing through, Jae-hyun replied. If I overload my ship's shields and ram them at full speed, I might be able to break inside. That's a suicide mission, Commander. So was Captain Nara's mission, Admiral, and her sacrifice gave us this chance. I won't waste it. As Jae-hyun prepared for his desperate attack, something unexpected happened. The architect's ship stopped trying to repair itself and instead opened communication channels to the human fleet. Admiral So Young, came the familiar perfect voice of the architects. Your species continues to demonstrate behavior that contradicts all logical models. Explain why your subordinates choose certain death when survival alternatives exist. Because that's what humans do, So Young replied. We sacrifice ourselves for others even when it doesn't make sense. This behavior pattern is inefficient and counterproductive to species survival. Maybe, but it's what makes us human. There was a long pause before the architects responded. Your species was designed to be tools. Efficient, predictable, logical tools to serve a specific purpose in our experiments. You have developed characteristics that were not part of your original design parameters. What kind of tools? So Young asked. Observers and recorders. Your species was created to document and preserve the achievements of other civilizations. We tested. When those civilizations failed and were erased, humans would maintain records of their existence. The implication hit So Young like a physical blow. Humanity had been created to be living libraries, watching other species fail their tests and then recording their histories after they were deleted from reality. But you developed beyond your programming, the architects continued. You began creating, instead of just recording. You started making illogical decisions based on concepts we do not understand, concepts you call love, honor, courage, and hope. And that's why you're testing us now? Yes. We must determine if your deviation from design parameters makes you valuable enough to preserve or dangerous enough to erase. Commander Jae-hyun's voice interrupted the conversation. Admiral, I'm detecting more energy buildups. They're not just repairing their dimensional drive. They're preparing to erase something big, maybe an entire star system. Dr. Yoonji's urgent voice came over the communications. Admiral, the energy patterns match what we saw when they deleted the Mars shipyards and Jupiter stations. But this is much larger. They might be preparing to erase Earth itself. So Young felt her heart stop. If the architects erased Earth from reality, it wouldn't just kill everyone there. It would make it so that Earth had never existed at all. Humanity would lose its home, its history, and its origin point. Why are you threatening to erase Earth? She demanded. It is not a threat, the architects replied. It is a practical test. If your species possesses sufficient value, you will find a way to prevent Earth's erasure. If you do not, then your failure proves you should not continue to exist. You're forcing us to choose between saving Earth and fighting you. Correct. A logical species would focus all resources on preserving their homeworld. An illogical species might make other choices. So Young understood the trap. The architects expected humanity to abandon the attack and desperately try to save Earth. That would be the logical choice, the predictable choice. But it would also mean leaving the architects free to continue their tests and eventually erase humanity anyway. Admiral, Commander Jae-hyun said quietly, I'm picking up transmissions from Earth. They know what's happening. The government is ordering all ships to return and defend the homeworld. And if we obey that order? So Young asked. The architects escape, repair their ship, and continue erasing human installations until we're too weak to resist. Then they delete us all anyway. So Young closed her eyes and made the hardest decision of her life. All ships, ignore the recall order from Earth. We continue the attack. Admiral, Captain Dong Hyun said, shocked. Earth is our homeworld. We can't just abandon it. If we abandon this attack, Earth dies anyway, along with every other human world. This is our only chance to save everyone. The architect's voice came again, and for the first time, it carried a tone that might have been surprise. Admiral So Young, you choose to continue an attack that cannot succeed rather than attempting to save your species' origin world. This decision violates all predicted behavior patterns. Good, So Young replied. Commander Jae-hyun, execute your ramming attack now. Yes, Admiral. Jae-hyun's ship, the Courage, accelerated toward the massive architect vessel at maximum speed. His shields blazed with overloaded energy as defensive systems tried to stop him. But just as he had predicted, the alien defenses were designed to stop weapons and energy, not a physical ship crashing into them. The Courage punched through the architect hull in an explosion of light and debris. For a moment, there was silence. Then Jae-hyun's voice came through the communications, weak but alive. I'm inside their ship, Admiral, and what I'm seeing, it's incredible. Report, Commander. The interior of their ship isn't built for physical beings. It's like a vast computer, but organic somehow. And, Admiral, I can see them. Thousands and thousands of preserved consciousnesses floating in energy bubbles. All the species they've tested before us. Dr. Yoonji's voice cut in urgently. Commander, can you access their storage systems? I think so. There are control interfaces, but they're designed for beings much larger than humans. Wait. I'm detecting something else. There's a massive data core here. It contains everything. Every species they've ever created, every test they've ever conducted, every civilization they've erased. Can you download it? So Young asked. I can try, but it's enormous. It might take... Jae-hyun's transmission was cut off as explosions echoed through the alien ship. The architect's voice returned, now clearly angry. Commander Jae-hyun, you are accessing restricted information. Withdraw immediately or be eliminated. Jae-hyun's voice came back, strained but determined. Admiral, I'm downloading everything I can. The data shows that they've tested thousands of species over millions of years. Most failed because they were too predictable, too logical. But some succeeded. What made the successful species different? So Young asked. They all had the same thing we do. They could act against their own self-interest for the benefit of others. The architects call it the illogical impe.